All right, Coach Jeff here. Last MET or movement enhancement technique, we talked about stretching myofascial lines or techniques that will help you stretch the myofascial line using a dowel. In my case, I used a PVC. You can use a broomstick, a wooden dowel, like a closet dowel, mop, whatever you can find. The one I use is about five feet long. Okay, so we're going to focus on stretching those myofascial lines again. This time we're going to do it without a device. Say you're out somewhere and you don't have that device with you, you can still stretch those lines. So I'm going to demonstrate that today. All right, first we'll start with 3D breathing. Again, I want to remind you of why it's so important. We want to shift that autonomic nervous system from a sympathetic fight or flight mode into a more relaxed rest and digest parasympathetic mode or balance. Again, range of motion will improve, pain will decrease, heart rate will decrease, blood pressure will decrease. You'll feel more relaxed mentally. If I didn't say it, range of motion will improve, strength will improve if we can get that more parasympathetic state. So that's why we use the breath, or one of the many reasons why. I'll demonstrate that next. All right, so here's our basic position. While you're breathing, it's important to think about your body and go from head to toe and assess if you're holding tension there. If you are, start visualizing that you're breathing into the area, getting it to relax, remove tension, relax the area. Generally neck, shoulders, low back, sometimes it's hips for people. You'll be surprised that a lot of times we hold tension in our face. I know that happens a lot. So just kind of get in tune with your body and see if you can find areas of tension and breathe to those areas, or at least visualize breathing to those areas, and see if you can get them to relax. Overall, or right now, I'm noticing some tension in the thoracic spine and maybe a slight bit of pain. So I'll do 3 or 4 breaths and see what happens. So while I'm breathing, I want to make sure that my legs are up, my spine's neutral, and then I'm getting 3 dimensions in my breathing. You know, I want the abdominal wall, the rib cage to elevate, to expand laterally, and then push back into the floor. I want you to force the breath, but you definitely want to focus on it. Yeah, honestly, I can definitely feel a difference in that spine already with those 3 or 4 breaths. Obviously, I didn't check range of motion or anything, but overall, it feels less tense. And actually, the pain felt like it decreased. So, I'm pretty happy about that. That was minimal work for such a great benefit. Okay, so on to the stretching of the front line, or of the lines. So, we got the anterior line, or the front lines, front of the body. Starts at the top of the foot, goes all the way up the front. I won't get into the details. We'll just hit them when we hit most of the front line when we do these stretches. So here's one way. We're in the half kneeling. Obviously, if we do it this way, we got to do both sides. So notice my toe is plantar flex, or my ankle's plantar flex. I'm going to stretch the hip, and then I'm going to reach up and look up. I did have a little bit of extension. That's how you stretch the front line. Maybe hold that for 30 seconds or so, switch sides. Okay, there's your front line. If you're going to do the oblique line, I would do it the same. Let me back up a little bit. I'll go back to the front line. You can also do it standing. So the only thing that's going to be hard is to do that. So I'll just stand and reach up. Okay, don't overextend your spine and hurt your lower back. Okay, so you can do it standing. Honestly, I prefer that one in a kneeling position or half kneeling position. That's really stable, and I'm getting that anterior part of the lower leg. Okay, now moving on to the oblique front line. Basically, we're going to come from one hip going across this way, including, so it'll be that way, from the top of this foot, my right foot in this case, to this left hand. So all I'm going to do is reach up and then rotate and extend back, and that gets this front line. Okay, anterior oblique front line. And same here, I'll show you this side. It's here. Perfect. That actually feels pretty good. Next is the back line. This one's actually pretty easy. Now, the one thing I will say is if you have a low back condition, this may or may not be appropriate for you. So we got to be careful here with the lower back. I know I probably wouldn't do this, but I'm going to show it to you. I wouldn't do this personally. Simply, you're just going to reach for your toes and drop your chin. That's the back line. Really easy. I would do it more like this. I would put my legs up against the wall. My spine stays neutral. I'm going to dorsiflex. I'll reach up and then tuck my chin. And that way I just don't put as much load on my lower back and the soft tissues of the lower back, and keep it safe. Now you can also do a posterior oblique line, and that really is a modified pigeon pose from yoga. So what we'll do here is sit back into the yoga position called pigeon pose, and since my right glute is stretching, or actually my left glute, I'm going to reach with my right hand across my body. And that gets the posterior oblique line, okay? And here's the other side. And actually that's a pretty good, excuse me, pretty good stretch. Okay, lateral line. I'm gonna have to adjust the camera. This one's actually pretty easy. Okay, so this one, you can't see my feet, or barely. I'm just crossing over, so my left leg is in front of my right, and then I'm just going to reach over. Left leg is in front of my right. Hip's going to shift laterally just a little bit. I want to create a kind of a natural curve in my spine, not a sharp bend, but just lengthen and curve. And then you want to flex. This hand reaches down. So that's the lateral line for the lateral myofascial line. Sling, whatever you want to call it. And then here's the other side. Now you can also use something for balance. And you need to be careful when you do this. You want to stay in the frontal plane. You don't want to reach around. So you don't want to rotate forward, bend forward, stuff like that. Okay? All right. And then we need to get one more part of the lateral line. That is the inner thigh area. So we'll do that one. So this one, all I do here is, oops, sorry about that. I'm gonna drop you back down so you can see that. Okay. So I'm in quadruped, then I'm going to bring the leg out to the side, I'm going to turn the toe up, and then I'm going to walk my hand over. And I'm going to try to maintain a good neutral spine. Just hold this position, you should feel a stretch that medial side. Another version of that is to do this. I'm going to go that way. So it's kind of like a hip flexor stretch, but now I'm going to have my one foot facing this way and then go that way. So now I'm targeting the inner thigh that way. So both excellent ways to target that lateral line that's on the inner part of the medial side of the body. All right. And then in the PVC assisted version, we do some shoulder mobility. What we'll do here is we'll just do it without. Do some, this is called shoulder circumduction, or humeral circumduction. Just do both directions. And the other one I would probably do is figure eights. So figure eights on its side. My thumb is up. It's a little joint mobility work. Boom. All right, there's your stretching routine for the myofascial lines. Bonus, some shoulder mobility. All right. Have a good week, you guys. Use this. This works really well. Feel good when you get done. Take care.